In the New York City subway system, the terms A division and B division refer to two distinct groups of subway lines that differ in their history, train size, and technical specifications. The A division lines, originally operated by the Interborough Rapid Transit Company or IRT, include the numbered lines and the 42nd Street Shuttle. These lines use shorter and narrower trains due to the sharp curves and tight tunnel clearances. Meanwhile, the B division lines, which were operated by both the Independent Subway System or IND and Brooklyn Manhattan Transit Corporation or BMT, consist of the lettered subway lines. These lines use longer and wider trains. There are some more differences between the divisions, but these are the major differences that are visible to the public eye. Because of these differences, A division trains cannot operate on B division lines and vice versa. However, A division trains can physically run on B division tracks. They just can't serve passengers due to the platform gap caused by the size mismatch. But what if I told you that long ago, the Transit Authority actually proposed converting the Pelham Line in the Bronx, which is served by the 6 train, to B division standards? The Pelham Line branches off of the IRT Lexington Avenue line at 125th Street in Manhattan. From there, it runs underground into the Bronx, reaching Hunts Point Avenue before rising onto an elevated structure and continuing through the neighborhoods of Soundview, Parkchester, and Westchester Square to its final stop at Pelham Bay Park. So you may be wondering, what exactly did they propose? To answer that, we need to go back to the 1960s and the ambitious Program for Action. The Program for Action was a major expansion plan for transit across the New York region and called for 50 miles of new subway lines to be constructed and countless changes and improvements to the already existing lines. Among the key proposals was the 2nd Avenue subway, envisioned as a much-needed relief line for the overcrowded Lexington Avenue line. The 2nd Avenue line would be built to B division standards and would have started in Lower Manhattan, traveled up 2nd Avenue to Harlem, and crossed the Harlem River into the Bronx. Here's where things get interesting. The Bronx segment of the 2nd Avenue line included a station at Brook Avenue, designed for a cross-platform transfer to the Pelham line. From there, the line would run parallel to the Pelham line, skipping all stations to Whitlock Avenue, where the lines would merge. At this point, the 2nd Avenue line would split into 2 branches. One branch would continue up the Bronx River to connect with the Dyer Avenue line, while the other would merge fully with the Pelham line, allowing 2nd Avenue trains to travel all the way up to Pelham Bay Park. In Phase 2 of the Program for Action, the line would go even further, being extended to the new housing development at Co-op City. Now, there's a lot to unpack with this plan, so let's start with the obvious question. How would B division trains from the 2nd Avenue line run on the Pelham line, which was built to A division specifications? Station platforms on the Pelham line would have been extended from about 520 feet to over 600 feet to fit a full-length B division train. The platforms would have also been narrowed to accommodate the wider loading gauge of the B division subway cars. The next question is, what would happen to the trains that originally ran on the Pelham line? A division trains from the Lexington Avenue line would terminate at Hunts Point Avenue, and passengers wishing to use Lexington or 2nd Avenue would be forced to transfer at Brook Avenue between trains. And finally, why didn't it happen? Like many subway projects in New York City, the proposal fell victim to financial troubles. Although construction on the 2nd Avenue subway began in 1972, the city's economic downturn in the mid-1970s caused a massive strain on resources. The US economy had stagnated, and as residents fled to the suburbs, New York City's tax revenue dwindled. By 1975, construction was paused, and by the late 1970s, most of the program for action was abandoned. While construction on the 2nd Avenue subway eventually resumed decades later, the Bronx extension was left out of current plans. Instead, the MTA now proposes extending the line cross-town along 125th Street in Harlem to address overcrowded bus lines and local demand. It's fascinating to imagine what the subway system could have looked like if the Pelham Line had been converted to B Division standards. Let me know in the comments if you knew about this proposal and how you'd feel if it had actually been realized, and if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content like this, like the video and consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching.